watching STV 6 p.m. newscast. We are broadcasting live from our headquarters here in Accra, in the city of Douala. In our top stories, ahead of the celebration of the 55th edition of Youth Day of the Youth Day celebration in Cameroon, some schools here in the littoral region are already vibrating to the rhythm of the big day. Several activities and workshops to build up and empower the youth are ongoing in school milieus. This by the cancellation of the Youth Day. And what are the expectations, or what are Cameroonians expecting from the head of state speech tomorrow, February 10, 2021? We shall be finding out in this news with our reporter Oni Aladunet. And now two separatist fighters by names Ambe August, equally known as General Above the Law, and Wache Celestine, known as T-Boy, were on February 8 in Balangi apprehended and neutralized by elements of the City Rapid Intervention Battalion under the supervision of Kone. Maiduang Desiree. We shall be having more and more in the course of our news. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on another edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum television. The commemoration of the National Youth Day celebration is traditionally cemented by President Biya's address to youth for an emerging Cameroon. Employment, digitalization and revamping the economy was the package dish to the youth in 2020. Our reporter Josephine Binzi takes us back to that speech and tells us what has been realized and what is pending. Her report.
In his habitual address to the nation on the 10th of February, President Paul Biya shone the spotlight on the economy and insecurity in the nation last year. Barely 2 years after winning the presidential election and few weeks to tackling the world's ravaging crisis, the president's Youth Day speech was realized to some extent as decentralization had been a long outcry of a generation of young and old Cameroonians who had seen a state rigid in actions and implementation of affairs concerning the people. 14th of May 2020, 49.9 billion CFA was the total amount for the Common Decentralization Fund for 2020 finance year, headed by Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion-Gute, appointed by a presidential decree. This was aimed at funding 360 local and subdivisional councils in Cameroon to finance projects. Though the president highlighted the importance of building a democratic, prosperous Cameroon, violence still continued in the troubled-hit northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon as Comfort to Mazang, Treasure and many others fell to the swords of secessionist fighters. Employment in the president's speech was his heartbeat, as the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training, as well as the Army, created over 15,000 employment assistance projects last year to realize this aspect of the head of state's vision for 2020. The modernization of agriculture, stimulating industrialization, particularly processing the agricultural process in Cameroon, was a major milestone for the year 2020. June 23, 2020, members of the National Assembly and cabinet members raised awareness of Cameroon's potential, especially in the areas of creativity, innovation, job creation and revenue. Some aspects of the president's address to the youths still have not been answered, particularly in insecurity in the northwest and southwest regions, and bringing forth a lasting solution to the crisis, as well as unemployment figure which has not increased in Cameroon as many youths desired, which is one of the difficulties of many young Cameroonians. The plan for 2021 will be revealed tomorrow, 10th February, as many youths wait in earnest expectation for the head of state's project for 2021 amidst the health crisis, another aspect dear to their hearts.
And now the president equally used that opportunity to call on secessionist fighters to drop their weapons and integrate into the DDR centers, and also addressed violence and drug abuse in school milieu. Let's take a listen.
I am calling on the government today to redouble its efforts to combat this scourge. I also avail myself of the opportunity of this Youth Day celebration to again appeal to our young patriots in the Northwest and Southwest regions, those who have allowed themselves to be lured into armed gangs and who continue to maintain a climate of insecurity in these two regions should lay down their weapons like many who have already done so and who are living peacefully in our communities. Once again, I urge them to come out of the bush and rejoin their other fellow young citizens who are leading normal lives in our society.
The celebration in Cameroon ahead of the president's speech for the 55th edition of the National Youth Day. Some Cameroonians have some expectation from the head of state. Let's have it with Oni Ladonet.
The creation of jobs is of great interest to most youths met in the city of Douala ahead of the president's address to the nation come February 10.
Bon, naturellement, lorsque le président veut s'adresser à la nation, aux jeunes, c'est-à-dire à ses enfants, il y a beaucoup d'attentes.
When the president wants to address the nation, we have lots of expectations. We look forward to employment. Youth should be able to get jobs, and even if it's not possible, they can be self-employed. The training process has to be accelerated.
Et même s'ils ne peuvent pas avoir de l'emploi, qu'ils puissent s'auto-employer. Il faudrait que la formation soit accélérée.
Il souffre beaucoup. Si le président peut prendre un peu plus que ça.
Cameroonians are suffering. If the president can help the youth, it would be ideal. We are waiting for a speech which will tackle the problem of unemployment and security.
Il faut ceci, il faut c'est ce qu'on attend. On a besoin de son mot.
Vraiment qu'il continue à motiver d'une manière ou d'une autre.
The head of state should continue motivating the qualified unemployed youth. I think that can also help in solving the problem in the northwest and southwest regions.
Le problème de nos eaux.
With insecurity still a major issue, expectations mount up, with some hoping for a definite solution to the Anglophone crisis.
Dans son discours,
I want the president to address the crisis in the northwest and southwest region. That's all I want. If the crisis is resolved, everything will return to normal.
Donc déjà, si cette crise est résolue, vraiment, pour moi, tout est bon.
Comme chaque année, j'attends que le président.
Like every year, I want the president to give us a sincere speech calling for peace. We need his words so as to calm down tensions. It should not only end with words. We need action.
Au discours, on veut voir les actions sur le terrain.
Il faudrait que le président de la République mette l'accent sur la paix et la sécurité. Vous savez, sans
the president should emphasize on peace and security. Without peace and security, nothing can work out in the country. It's not a secret. We know there's insecurity in the north and southwest region since 4 years now. It's true some actions were taken. We have the national dialogue. But these actions have to be multiplied so peace and security can return to Cameroon. This 55th edition of the National Youth Day will be celebrated differently due to the COVID-19 pandemic under the theme Youth, Resilience, Challenges and Opportunities in Times of COVID-19.
And now, in line with the upcoming celebration of Youth Day in Cameroon, some schools in the littoral region are carrying out activities and workshops in their school milieus, to build and empower the youths during this COVID-19 time, which has urged the celebration this year to be done differently. Details with Christelle Asek Swele.
Il s'agit en réalité d'une véritable révolution pacifique.
11th February, a day commemorated as a National Youth Day, is the day British Southern Cameroon opted to join French Cameroon way back in 1961. According to historic event, the Southern Cameroons were presented two options by the United Nations. which was to gain independence by integrating with the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the already independent Cameroon. This day is also referred to as the plebiscite. 1 year after the plebiscite, the government of West Cameroon thought it befitting to create a day for the youths whom the future state depended on. 26 October, celebrated then as their National Day, was replaced as the Youth and Sports Day. The Youth and Sports Day, adopted in 1962, was to be celebrated every 26 October and was to run from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. By the end of 1963, the Prime Minister John Foncha made public his intentions to change the plebiscite day to the Youth Day, meaning October 26 was to become obsolete and that the Youth Day would henceforth be celebrated on 11th February. This new decision took effect in 1964. In 1966, the Cameroon federal government adopted the West Cameroonian event and raised it to a national public holiday.
Ladonet reporting on the first National Youth Day was celebrated on February 11, 1966. Coming back to this report, let's now look at the different activities and workshops ongoing in school milieus to commemorate the Youth Day celebration in Cameroon. That is with our reporter, Christe Asek Swele.
As the days narrow down towards the 55th celebrations of the Youth Day in Cameroon, some schools in the Littoral region are carrying out activities and workshops to keep the students busy during this period. Here at the government school Aqua, the students are initiated into cooking, dancing and other educative activities which are in line with the school curricula.
Avant, on préparait les danses traditionnelles. Oui. Et ceci en rapport avec l'éducation artistique.
The children have prepared traditional dances, which is in relation to artistic education which they do in class, because we have lessons in the new curricula where the children are initiated into dance moves. That's how we came out with this dance group. We also have the child's personal development where we teach them how to cook according to their culture. So they have prepared traditional dishes and other dishes as well, and after that they also dance to keep the party going.
Moderne, non? Disons que après ça ils ont dansé pour un peu égayer la fête, quoi.
Centered on the theme Youth Resilience, Challenges and Opportunities in COVID-19 Time, the teachers of the Mississippi Bilingual School, another school we visited in the Douala 1 municipality, thought it wise to capitalize their focus on activities which will trigger the students to be creative and empowered subsequently.
Nous avons prévu plusieurs activités. Comme vous avez vu, là nous avons
we have set up many activities like workshops where we teach them how to arrange their stuff. And we also have the cooking workshop and pastry where they will learn on how to bake cakes, make natural juice. We also have the dance and singing workshop. So during this period, we have planned to occupy our kids differently, since there will be no match pass parade.
D'une autre manière que d'aller au défilé.
Organize. In as much as we are talking about the theme resilience, it means we have to come out of a certain situation. Yeah, as we are living this period of coronavirus, we have to learn how to live with the coronavirus. By so doing, we have thought of teaching our children how to come up with different activities that can help them in future, such as kitchen. In kitchen, we'll bake cakes, we'll do fruit juice. We talk about arranging a room or arranging a parlor. We have music. We have arts and craft where children will produce beats by themselves. We also have dancing competition and so on and so forth. So these are the activities that we have decided to come up with our children that will help them to be creative and to be independent and to come to focus in a certain situation of life. So you have to forge ahead.
Despite the absence this year of the habitual March Past Parade carried out every year in all the national territory due to the COVID-19 health crisis, some schools plan on commemorating this year differently in their various school milieus, like having their parade in their school premises coupled with other interesting activities.
Let's now talk about something else. About 110% of tax revenues has been gathered for 2020 in spite of the global health crisis that hit the world last year. This is a sharp contrast to 2019, where only 7% was reclaimed. The Eastern Regional Tax Report says hotel owners will benefit from a 1% drop in taxes due to the adverse effects the coronavirus ravaged on its sector last year. Details with Josephine Binzi.
On a revenue forecast, 7,250 million has been assigned by the General Tax Directorate at the start of the budget year. The Eastern Regional Tax Center has been able to amass almost 8 billion in tax revenue in 2020. Umaru Wanjore, head of the Regional Center of Taxes from the East, affirms that their goals have surpassed the target with a completion of nearly 110% compared to 2019 that got just 7% despite the prevalence of the COVID-19 on the national territory. For the 2021 fiscal year, a number of refinements have been implemented to achieve the objective of 7,400 million CFA set by hierarchy. A drop in taxes from 4% to 3% will be a call for concern as government intends stretching the shoulder of comfort to enterprises, including hotels, who will not pay tourist tax. This year, however, comes with an innovation as digitalization will characterize the payment of taxes, as everyone will make their declarations online as opposed to before when it was manual. Payments may also be achieved via bank transfers, which will permit hierarchy to secure not only tax revenue, but also facilitate online declarations. Another great innovation is going in the direction of digitalization on April 1 is that the Department of Tax Center in Loom and Jerem will be fully computerized. From July 2021, digitalization will also be extended to the departmental tax centers of Yokaduma, Baturi, and Abongbang.
And until this news, elements of Groupement Mobile de Intervention here in the Littoral region today, February 9, 2021, presented to the press a vendor and consumers of marijuana in the city of Douala. The elements under the supervision of Commander Richard Njowe dismantled and seized huge quantities of cannabis from these three suspects at the Brazzaville neighborhood, according to Eli Ngwenjo, 58 years old, who happens to be a cultivator of marijuana, reviewed his customers purchase and consume the illegal product just to acquire strength to work. He says the two other suspects buys the cannabis from him in order to have force as well. However, the suspect will be presented to the State Council while awaiting trials. Let's get more of the arrest in the following interview of Commander Christian Awa.
Instructions of our regional hierarchy transmitted by our unit commander that we sent our special team on the field yesterday around the Brazzaville neighborhood. So in the course of their maneuvers on the field, we came across two suspects who were in possession of a reasonable quantity of marijuana. So from their arrest and exploitation, they led us to their supplier, who happens to be the same person who cultivates, who has a plantation of marijuana that we are still investigating. And you know all the effects of this product and what it has been creating among the youths around the Douala city area. So from the instructions that we got, we are still trying to track all the consumers and all the hideouts where this product is being consumed. And I can assure you that in a few days to come, we are going to put a stop to all the major hideouts of the consumption of marijuana around the Douala city area. Thank you.
And now two separatist fighters by names Ambe August, known as General Above the Law, and Wache Celesri, known as T-Boy, were on February 8 in Balangi, apprehended and neutralized by elements of the City Rapid Intervention Battalion under Colonel Medua Desiré, after being noted for masterminding acts of violence and instant attacks along the Kumbaboya stretch of road, and of course the recent road blockage along Edziki-Balangi resulting to a shootout. The elements of the CITB engaged in an operation resulting to the death of both separatists, General Above the Law and T-Boy. It should be noted that they have been accused of being the masterminders behind the gruesome killings of students of the Mother Francisca International College, that is in Kumba, in the southwest region of Cameroon. Let's talk about something else. Weeks after the horrible tragedy that stole the lives of over 53 persons following the tragic accident that occurred on January 27, 2021 at Nchang, La Falaise Cliff in the west region of Cameroon, hearts are still bleeding, as our reporter Christelle Asexwele spoke to the families of some victims of the tragedy today and filed in this report.
January 27, 2021 remains an unforgettable day for the inhabitants of Manjab-Ndongem, a neighborhood in the Douala 3 municipality. 10 people, including women and children living here, perished in the unfortunate Chang Cliff accident in the west region of Cameroon. Here, 4 persons, the mother plus her 3 children, and further down, our sister plus her 4 children and the neighbor's wife, who accompanied my sister to the village, which sums it to 10 victims here. It's so painful for us. The cousin of one of the victims, who also lives in the same neighborhood, remembers his last exchange with his sister before she took off for this journey of no return. Left here on Tuesday night at about 10 p.m. She came and told me she was leaving with all the children. And as usual, we all knew that we will take a call in the morning to know how she traveled. While he thinks of placing a call to inquire on their journey, it's a complete different news that reaches him the following day after his sister left the house that fateful Wednesday, January 27. On the bike, I noticed my younger brother had called me 7 times on phone. I thought he was calling for something else, knowing that we all had to follow her to the village the following day, to travel Thursday night to meet with them on Friday. After noticing his missed calls, I called him back immediately. He picked up the call. He was in tears and asked why I wasn't picking his calls. I asked him what the matter was. He told me Angel is dead with all the children, that the transport bus had burned down at La Falaise. The entire neighborhood is in tears and sorrow as the noise alerts another neighbor whose wife was also among those who took on this journey.
La voisine, il a demandé l'aide. La voisine lui a demandé l'aide d'aller l'aider.
The neighbor asked her to come assist her at a funeral in her village, so she traveled along with her. She was just going there to assist her during this funeral. They were all going to the West region to assist their neighbor in the funeral celebration of her late mother. So we celebrated their death without seeing their corpse. We just took a stone at the venue of the accident to represent their corpse, as our tradition demands in the village. Weeks after this tragedy that claimed the lives of 53 people, Hearts are still bleeding and doors to some homes remain closed, just like the occupants left them before embarking on this journey that claimed their lives. January 27, 2021.
Now let's take on our international page with the VOA.
Being stuck in Nairobi's notorious traffic can be boring, but the clan acrobats are making it much more interesting. Due to the COVID pandemic, they have taken their act outside, performing for a captive audience waiting in traffic.
As like acrobats, we deal with gathering, where people should gather. We entertain the big crowds. Now due to this COVID-19, people can't gather together.
The ban on large gatherings has hurt the income of many Kenyan performers whose normal venues have shut down. The clan acrobats are managing to get by, entertaining motorists with different degrees of gratitude.
The good thing is they're waiting for the traffic lights when they are red. That's when they do the thing. When the traffic lights are green, they move.
Kenya's Bureau of Statistics says unemployment has doubled under lockdown measures meant to stop the virus.
The youth unemployment before COVID was high, and after
the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. Ladies and gentlemen, wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs till we meet again. Good night.